Tonight we're back working on the 94 Camaro with the Cadillac dash. We've got the dash pretty well situated. We're gonna end up getting rid of all these buttons. We're gonna put an iPad in here and ditch the double din, smooth that all out, put an iPad in there. And tonight we pulled the motor out. The old LT1 is no more. Started welding some things on the firewall. Started making the panels for that. And we're gonna chop the roof up here. We're gonna do a T-top conversion on this roof. We've got a couple T-top cars around here to look at, but for the most part, the structure on a T-top, this lip right here is actually where the rubber weather strip sits. We've got a parts car that we're gonna rob weather strips and T-top glass and fill panels and things off of. But more or less, we're gonna start by cutting this section right out of the roof. Cut that section right out, and by the time we're done, we may end up re-skinning the roof using the T-top skin, because when we cut this, right in this region, when we cut this skin is just gonna be a thin edge all the way across where the T-top has a nice rolled, it fills it in. So we'll see how that looks. We may end up re-skinning this roof. Worked on the gauges a little bit ago. I got the speedometer, the fuel gauge, and the temp gauge mounted in there. I gotta make some fill panels so that you don't see that white. That white is actually the original housing cluster from the CTS. I mounted some gauges in that, and now I gotta figure out something to make that look nice. Maybe some carbon fiber panel in there or something. So here's the old baby that was in there. This was a LT1, good heads, cam, naturally aspirated, and this is what we're going to put in there. Turbo LS1, single 76 millimeter Turbonetics turbo. Should be a good time. So if you look down in these pillars, even the hard tops actually have the slots for the bolts for the latch for the T-tops, front and back. See them back in there? So basically what has to happen now is we need to take this outer layer off right here. This needs to come off, and then that'll give us access and set our depth right here for the T-top. So for this, what I like to do is take a black marker, mark my spot welds on the front. I've actually only got two. But then the belt sanders, this is an Astro, the 3M ones, whichever, the 3M belts work great. You just grind the spot weld right off. So on this car, which is a factory T-top car, you can see how that skin rolls down and comes in. That I would like, but I may be able to just run a nice little rubber bead in there or something. We'll have to see how this goes. But according to this one, it comes straight up off the roof line, and from this roof line to the peak of this is 1 5/8 inches. So then out here, this whole curve follows this curve. This is swooped as it comes in, and this whole curve needs to get cut off down to 1 5/8 inches from here to here. So I need to gently cut this off very carefully and try to maintain that nice little swoop in there. And then we're gonna go to cutting our first cut and cut the roof skin off. Then we're gonna have to come up here with the windshield removal tool and cut the roof skin. Is glued on. I have to cut all that glue, get the rest of the roof skin off, and then we can start focusing on our T-tops and our structure, getting everything to bolt in. So now I've got my 1 5/8 inches pretty well established. Now I'm gonna go ahead and make my first cut across the roof, and I'm leaving some room. I'm going a little farther forward than I think I really need to in the end. Can always take more off. Really hard to add it back to it because it is sheet molded compound SMC fiberglass, and it's very thin. If you had to add to this edge, it probably wouldn't really work. We've got the roof skin cut off, so now our brackets will bolt right in here. Our rubber will sit up here. We're actually gonna have to bend this up to match this, so the rubber follows this, like on the other cars, and same in the back. The T-top bracket will bolt right in there. We'll have to close this off, make this look better, but same thing, basically. This is gonna, that rubber comes through here, screws in there, down we go. So this is the donor car. This is a 98 RS with a 3.8. So we had to cut some of the panels out. Some of the stuff is different from T-top to hardtop. On a hardtop, this area you don't see. So they had kind of some big gaps and things like that that the skin covers on a hardtop that you will see with the T-top. So we had to cut this section out to bring our weather strip flange all the way out to the end, and et cetera, et cetera. So right now we're working on getting the skin off of here, and we're using the windshield urethane cutting tool, trying to get the blade up in there, get this cut off nicely as possible. So this is our donor roof skin off of the 3.8 car. The only reason that we're using this is because of this nice little roll. The T-top actually sits right in here like this, and then on the inside there's a lip, a finished lip that I would like to have, which this car does not have. We've got this T-top kind of sitting in there, but as you can see, no finished lip on this side. So we're just gonna go ahead and use the T-top roof skin. It's gonna make it a better job and easier in the long run. So then on the inside here, I've got my latch in place. My pin from the T-top lines up with the front and the back. So as far as actually, I'll say, fitting the T-top on this side, we're basically done. The only other thing that we need to do to make sure that this is all right is we need to put the windshield on, lay the windshield in there, make sure it fits good, and then we're going to put the T-top roof on, or the T-top roof skin. So then in this area of the roof structure, we had to modify quite a bit. We had to take a layer off. This used to come up and actually meet with the skin on this side, so we cut this, push this down. I've got to weld this together, and then I had to actually grind this lip all the way back behind the skin there, so that when this all goes together, that has room to go under the skin. The hole lines up here, goes roughly something like that when it's together, and then this rubber slides onto there. Same thing on this side. That's one of the reasons that we used this piece off of the other car, is to make this rubber fit. And as you can see, that rubber fits over that little body line right there. That all fits real nice. But when I take this off, I had to use this piece and then slice this piece and roll that up into this, because this corner is all, I'll say, closed on the T-top roof. This corner is all closed. I've got a little bit of welding to do. I've got to weld this together here, but for the most part, we know the T-tops fit. Everything seems to be in the right spot. I just need to do a little welding on this side yet, and then once I do this on that side, we'll go ahead and put the roof skin on, make sure it lines up with the T-tops before we glue the skin back in place. So this side I haven't really messed with much yet, but as you, like I was talking on that side, how that came up, I'm gonna have to cut this all out, cut this entire piece here needs to leave, because on the T-top roof, this just continues down into here. This doesn't need to be here. That rubber actually is gonna sit roughly right in the way of that, so we need to delete all of that. And this is why we use this corner section on the windshield right here, this big gap and all this. Sure, you could make it work, you could bend this up if you didn't have a donor car, but we do have a donor car, so we're going to cut this off just like we did on the other side. We're going to section this corner of the windshield post / roof into place. And by the time we're done, you'll never know that this wasn't a T-top car. So now I'm onto the passenger side, and I've got my old structure skin cut off of here, and the T-top one is gonna go on just like so. Fits real nice on there. So that's gonna go in there. If you notice on the back of this, I sprayed weld through primer everywhere we're gonna be doing any spot welds. I'm gonna do the same on the body. I'm gonna cover this all up with weld through primer because we will never see it again, and we wanna make sure that we cover that bare metal that's in there before we weld it on. And this, they call it a weld through primer because what this is gonna do is, as I weld my spot welds, this is gonna melt and encapsulate the weld, is the idea of with this weld through primer. So there we go. I've got my front piece in there, all welded in. I've got the back pretty well modified. I got some welding to do here, but we're gonna make sure everything fits before we weld all that back up. So at this point, I'm gonna take the middle rail out. We're gonna cut the hardtop roof skin off, start putting our T-top roof skin on, put the glass in, put the latches in, make sure everything fits. And from there, I'll finish welding this stuff up. And T-top conversion will basically be done. We gotta glue the T-top roof skin on, finish welding this. We're basically done here as long as everything fits good. So there it is. We've got the T-tops on. All we've got left to do is glue the T-top roof skin in. I would say everything fits nicely. We are looking good. T-top from a hard top to a T-top. Just like that. This took probably maybe 10 hours worth of time. Started on it last night, worked on it a couple hours. Started on it about 8 o'clock today, and it's about 2 now. So obviously we have a lot of work left on this car in general. This has all got to get stripped. Whoever did the body work on that did not do a very good job. So I've got a little bit of fitting this around the back window to do before, kind of as we glue this in. I have to make sure everything fits good, but not real worried. I think it should be totally doable. We got interior trims to fit. The A-pillars are kind of cut in half. We use the CTS front section of the A-pillar molded into the Camaro. And then I decided we need a T-top, so now I'm gonna have to mold the rear section that covers the latch into the pillar molding. But that's all in time. That's all as we get rolling on this a little more. For now, we've got T-tops on. The body construction is done. On to the next thing.